The first book I want to talk about today is called Teamwork Isn't My Thing. I Don't Like to Share. It's written by Julia Cook and the illustrations are by Kelsey DeWeird, maybe. Um, this is about a little boy. There's a very diverse classroom, and he doesn't like to share his things. He wants to work by himself. And his teacher tells him that he needs to learn how to share responsibilities. And he goes and he's at soccer practice and he's talking to his coach, and his coach asks him, um, could he win soccer games on his own? And he tells him no, and he says, well, that's teamwork. You have to work as a team to be able to win soccer games, and sharing and your things and responsibilities in the classroom or at home are just like working on your soccer team. And so by the end of the book, he's learning to share, and he says that his life is much easier with learning how to share. I think that the lesson to teach with this is teamwork, what it means to be on a team, and what the definition of teamwork is. And I think the activity that we could use with this book is after we read it at the beginning of the year, and let the kids make a whole group chart, write down some things that they want to see in teamwork, the things that they do that can contribute to teamwork, and then use it to make your classroom rules for the year. It's a second grade reading level. The next book I want to talk about is Thank You, Mr. Falker. It's by Patricia Polacco. This is actually into third grade 4.1 reading level, but this is one of my favorite books. And the lesson to learn in this is never giving up. Don't get discouraged. And this book is about Patricia, who her mother's a school teacher. She lives with her mom and brother and grandparents on a farm in Michigan. And she is turning 5, and her mom and grandparents are always reading to her, but she can't wait to start school because then she's going to get to be able to read. So her grandfather on her 5th birthday drops honey on a book and makes her eat it. And they ask her how it tastes, and she says sweet, and they tell her that knowledge is sweet. So it goes through a little bit, and she starts school, and they get a basal reader, and she is in the first reader, and she's listening to her classmates read, and she realizes the words aren't coming to her as well as they are coming to her to the classmates. And then she starts to notice that they've moved up in the readers. They've went to 2 and 3, and she's still in the first reader. And so she starts feeling like that she's dumb and she's not as smart as they are. And so she asked her grandmother, if she thought she was dumb, and she said no. And it ends up the grandparents pass away, and so their mother gets a teaching job in California. And Patricia doesn't want to leave, but she is excited because she hopes that her new school and teachers and classmates won't realize that she's so dumb. And so they get to school, and Patricia goes all through from kindergarten to 5th grade, and she doesn't know how to read. And there's a new teacher in 5th grade. His name is Mr. Falker, and he doesn't care about, the teacher pet kids, as she describes them, the smart ones and the ones who do well. And Patricia loves to draw. And so kids have been making fun of her old school, now her new school. The kids are making fun of her, especially this little boy, Eric. he's always making fun of her, getting the other kids to. And her, I guess, way of feeling better, she illustrates and draws pictures. And Mr. Falker, tells her how brilliant they are and encourages her drawing. And one day, Eric, he caught Eric making fun of her in the hall, and he takes him to the office, and he takes her in his room, and he starts calling out letters as she's washing the whiteboard, and tells her that they're going to play a game. And that's when he uh, realizes that she has dyslexia. And so he, tells her that they're going to work together, and he gets with the reading teacher, and every day after school they work with her. And before long, she was reading words. She still was discouraged because she wanted to read paragraphs. And one day, Mr. Falker, after working weeks and months, gives her a book, and she reads the paragraph. And so she runs home and grabs a book and puts honey on it, and says that you have to chase knowledge like she chased the words in the book, and that knowledge is sweet. And it is actually a true story. Patricia Polacco wrote it about herself and the struggles that she had. And Mr. Falker was her fifth grade teacher and actually helped her learn how to read. The lesson that I think, we could teach with this is the never giving up. And, don't let something discourage you. You just have to practice at it. The hands-on activity I think we could do is like a character trait, character emotion chart, and let the kids talk about, maybe, is there how Patricia felt? Can they relate, like a text to self kind of relation? Can they relate to any of the feelings that she has had? Had they had any experiences that she has had? And just kind of make an illustration of maybe themselves, and let's put some positive character traits on there, and stay away from the negative character traits. The third book is called The Paperboy. It's written, and the paintings are done by Dave Pilkey. The lesson to be taught with this is perseverance. The little boy has a paper route, and he and the dog get up before the sun rises, and they eat their breakfast and get their papers together and in the bag. And while the whole world is sleeping, he is delivering his papers. And once his paper route is finished, the sun is starting to come up, and him and the dog go back home and notice that the world is starting to wake up, but he gets to go back to his warm and comfortable bed and go back to sleep. And so the class, you could talk to the class about, even though he didn't want to wake up in the morning, he still, knew that he had a job to do, and responsibility is important. And, we could talk about what they do, the responsibilities they have at home. How could they relate to the little boy's responsibilities? And we could also talk about, what the difference is about when he started his job, his paper route job, the sun not being up. And then they could kind of compare it to what does it look like outside when they get up, and how, maybe some of the things that they could do. What do they think that they could do, jobs that would make them have to wake up before the whole world wakes up.